I was once a young woman full of dreams. I married a man who loved me dearly. He was simple, hardworking, and kind-hearted. We did not have wealth, but we had peace and laughter in our small home. For years, I waited to hold my own baby in my arms. I prayed day and night, but God did not bless us with children. Every month brought new disappointment, and with each passing year, my arms grew emptier, though my heart only grew fuller with longing. My husband would always say, "Don't worry, my love. You are enough for me. Children or no children, I will stand with you till the end." And he did. His words gave me strength, but deep inside, I felt incomplete. Society too can be cruel. People whispered behind my back. Some even came forward and said to my husband, "Why don't you marry again? Find another woman who can give you a son." Those words cut me like knives. But my husband never left me. He never even considered it. Years passed, until one day he held my hands and said, "If God did not give us children of our own blood, let us open our hearts to those who have no one. Let's adopt, and give a home to the abandoned." My eyes filled with tears, because in that moment, I felt hope again. So we adopted. Not one, but 2 children. 2 little souls who had been left behind in this cruel world. A boy and a girl. They were so small when we first saw them. Their eyes were empty, hungry, searching for love. And when I held them close, they clung to me as though they had always belonged to my heart. That day, my barren womb was forgotten, for my arms were finally full. Life changed after that. My home was filled with laughter, mischief, the sound of little feet running across the courtyard. My husband worked hard to provide for us, and I spent every breath of my life raising those children. I cooked for them, told them bedtime stories, taught them manners, and wiped their tears when they cried. When they grew older, I would walk them to school, holding their little hands in mine. People in the neighborhood would say, "She loves them more than a real mother could." And it was true. They were not born from my body, but they were born from my heart. Time moved forward. They grew into young adults, bright and full of promise. My husband and I made many sacrifices so they could study. Sometimes we went hungry, sometimes I wore the same old clothes for years, but we never let the children feel they lacked anything. We celebrated every small success. When they passed their exams, my husband brought sweets. When they won awards, I proudly told the entire neighborhood. But fate, my child, has a strange way of turning happiness into sorrow. My husband, the man who had been my strength, fell ill one winter. It began with a cough that would not stop. We took him to doctors, but nothing seemed to cure him. Within a few months, he was gone. I was left a widow, with only those children as my world. I thought they would be my reason to live, my comfort in old age. I thought they would wipe my tears the way I had once wiped theirs. And for a while, they did. They cried with me when we buried my husband. They promised me, "Mother, don't worry. We will take care of you. You will never be alone." Those words gave me peace, and I believed them with all my heart. But time changes people. Both of them finished their studies. They found good jobs, better than anything I could have dreamed for them. They married, and I welcomed their spouses with open arms. I treated my daughters-in-law like my own daughters. I told myself, now my family is complete. Even if my husband is gone, I still have my children, my grandchildren to come, and a home full of life. But what I didn't know, my child, was that sometimes the ones you love the most can become strangers. It started slowly. The daughter-in-law would complain, "Mother, why do you eat sitting here? Go to your room." Or, "Mother, these old habits of yours are embarrassing." I ignored it. I told myself maybe she is adjusting, maybe she is young and doesn't understand. But soon, the complaints grew louder. My son began to change too. He no longer listened to me. He no longer sat beside me in the evenings. When I asked him for company, he would say, "Mother, I am busy. Don't disturb me." My daughter too became distant. The girl I had raised with lullabies, the child I had dressed with my own hands, started calling me a burden. She whispered to her husband, thinking I would not hear, "Why do we keep her? She is old, useless. Let her live somewhere else." Do you know, my child, how it feels when your own blood, no, your own heart, turns cold towards you? It is a pain deeper than death itself. One day, it all happened. My son and daughter stood before me. Their spouses behind them, their arms crossed. And my son said words that shattered my soul. Mother, you cannot live here anymore. We have our own lives now. We cannot take care of you. You must go. I thought I had misheard. I laughed nervously and said, Son, what are you saying? This is my home. I raised you here. I gave you everything I had. How can you ask me to leave? But he was serious. His wife's eyes were sharp as knives. My daughter too looked away, refusing to meet my eyes. That day, my child, they pushed me out of the home I had built with my own hands. The same home where I had sung lullabies, the same walls that had heard my prayers, the same courtyard where I had watched them play. I stood on the street with nothing but a small bundle of clothes. Passers-by looked at me with pity, some with disgust. An old woman thrown out by her children, they whispered. I had no one, no roof, no family, only the road beneath my feet and the sky above my head. But that was not the end. It was only the beginning of a different chapter in my life. That night, my child, I slept on the pavement. The same city where I had raised my children, where I had walked proudly with them to school, now became my prison of shame. I had no blanket, no pillow, no roof. Only the cold ground beneath me and the harsh wind above. People walked past me without a glance. Some looked with pity, others with disgust. A few even whispered loud enough for me to hear. Look at that old woman. Her own children must have thrown her out. Such people must have sinned in their lives. That's why they suffer in old age. Do you know how it feels to be judged by strangers? To be spoken about like an object, while your heart bleeds inside your chest? I cried silently, holding my little bundle of clothes. My tears fell onto the street, but the street did not care. The next day, I went to the marketplace, hoping to find some work, something to earn food. But who will hire an old woman with trembling hands and wrinkled face? Shopkeepers waved me away. One man shouted, Go beg at the temple. You're scaring my customers. So, I did. I begged. Not for money, but for food. Sometimes people gave me leftovers, sometimes they kicked me away. My body grew weaker. I would sit near the temple steps and watch families walk together, mothers holding their children's hands, fathers buying sweets for them. Each sight stabbed me like a knife. I thought, I too held my children's hands once. I too bought sweets for them with my last coin. And now, I am nothing. Days turned into weeks. I wandered from street to street. Rain drenched me, sun burned me, hunger hollowed me. Still, not once did my children come searching for me. One evening, while I was sitting near the railway station, I fainted from hunger. When I opened my eyes, I was in a small room. A kind old woman was sitting beside me. She smiled and said, You are safe here, child. Child. Imagine, at my age, someone calling me child. Her words warmed my broken soul. She told me I was brought to an old age home, run by volunteers and kind strangers. It was not fancy, but it had food, a bed, and people like me, abandoned by their own. For the first time in weeks, I ate a full meal. I cried while eating, not because the food was special, but because someone served me with love. The old age home became my new shelter. The people there were broken like me, mothers forgotten by their sons, fathers abandoned by daughters, wives discarded after years of loyalty. We were strangers, yet bound by the same pain. At night, we shared our stories, and every story sounded like mine: sacrifice, love, betrayal, abandonment. One woman told me her son had locked her in a room for days without food until neighbors rescued her. Another said her daughters never visited after marriage. Listening to them, I realized I was not alone. Pain shared is pain halved, they say. But some wounds never heal. In the mornings, we prayed together. In the evenings, we sang songs. Sometimes, volunteers came to cheer us, bringing fruits, medicines, or simply their presence. For them, it was charity. For us, it was life. But even in that place of refuge, my heart longed for my children. I used to imagine them walking through the gates, saying, Mother, we made a mistake. Come home. I dreamed of holding my grandchildren, telling them bedtime stories as I once did. But those dreams never came true. One day, a young boy from the orphanage next door came to me. He asked, "Grandma, do you have children?" My throat tightened. I smiled weakly and said, "Yes, I have children." He looked around and said, "Then why are you here alone?" I had no answer. I just held his little face in my palms and whispered, "Sometimes, children forget their mothers." That boy, though not mine, became the light of my days. He would come to me, sit in my lap, and ask for stories. And I told him everything: how I once held 2 children in my arms, how I raised them, how I prayed for their happiness. He would listen wide-eyed, and sometimes he would wipe my tears with his tiny hands. Life at the old age home was not easy, but it was bearable. I had shelter, I had people to talk to, and I had the innocence of orphan children who unknowingly healed my broken heart. Still, nights were the hardest. When everyone slept, I stared at the ceiling and thought of my husband. If he were alive, would things be different? Would he have allowed our children to throw me away? Perhaps not. He was strong. He loved me. He would have stood by me. His absence was the first crack in the wall of my life, and everything else crumbled after him. Sometimes, I prayed for death. But death does not come when you call it. It comes when it wishes. So, I continue, breathing day after day, carrying the weight of betrayal in my chest. My child, I tell you all this not for pity, but so you may understand: never forget your parents. They are the reason you breathe, the reason you walk this earth. Do not let the poison of the world, the whispers of spouses, or the burden of your ambitions make you blind to their sacrifices. Because one day, you too will grow old. And if you abandon them, your children will learn to abandon you. I am old now. My hair is white, my body weak, but my heart still beats with the memory of love I once gave. If you ask me, do you regret adopting those children, I will say no. Love is never wrong, even when it breaks you. I gave them everything, and though they returned nothing, I do not regret being their mother. But my story is not finished yet. There is more, child. There are moments that shook me even inside the old age home, moments that reminded me of life's cruel humor and, strangely, its hidden blessings. Do you wish to hear them? Child, when I tell you that life surprises us even when we least expect it, believe me. In the old age home, days passed slowly. Some mornings felt peaceful, with the laughter of the children from the orphanage next door. Other mornings felt heavy, like carrying a mountain of memories on my back. We old ones had our routines. We prayed together, cooked together, sometimes quarreled like children, and sometimes sat in silence, lost in our own thoughts. But every night, when I lay down on my thin mattress, the past returned like a ghost. My children's faces haunted me. I could still remember the softness of their little hands, their smiles when they passed their exams, the way they once hugged me. It is strange, my child. Memories that should bring joy became knives that cut deeper with every passing night. One day, volunteers organized a medical camp for us. Doctors came, checked our blood pressure, sugar, eyes, and bones. When it was my turn, the doctor asked me many questions about my health. But in the middle of it, he asked softly, "Do your children come to visit you?" That one question broke me. I could not answer. My lips trembled, and tears filled my eyes. The doctor placed his hand gently on mine and said, "Don't worry, Amma. We are here for you." His words gave me comfort, but also a reminder: strangers showed me kindness that my own blood refused to give. Weeks later, the old age home received an invitation to attend a charity function in the city. They wanted us to come, sing songs, and share our stories. At first, I refused. Why should I display my pain like a performance? But the caretaker insisted, "Your story can change hearts. Maybe someone will learn to love their parents more after hearing you." So I agreed. That evening, we were taken to a big hall, decorated with lights and flowers. People clapped as we entered. They gave us chairs on the stage. I sat nervously, clutching my sari. When my turn came to speak, I walked slowly to the microphone. My voice trembled as I began. I was not blessed with children of my own. So, my husband and I adopted 2. We raised them with love, with sacrifice. We gave them education, we gave them our everything. My husband left this world too soon, and I alone carried the weight of motherhood. My sons grew, they succeeded, they became men of respect. But today, I stand here in an old age home, not because I have no family, but because my family has no place for me. The hall went silent. People looked at me with wide eyes. Some women cried quietly, dabbing their tears with handkerchiefs. I continued. My children chose their wives over me. They chose society over me. And when my face wrinkled, when my hands shook, when my voice weakened, they forgot the voice that once sang them lullabies. I am not telling you this for pity. I am telling you this so you will not forget your own parents. They are the roots of your life. Do not cut them when you grow into a tree. When I finished, the hall echoed with applause. People stood, clapping with respect. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a burden, but as a human. Yet inside, my heart still bled. After the program, many came to speak with me. Some touched my feet, some hugged me. But then, something happened that I never imagined. As I stepped outside the hall, I saw two familiar faces in the crowd. My sons. My own blood. For a moment, I thought my eyes deceived me. But no, it was them. Taller, older, dressed in fine suits. Their wives stood beside them, looking uncomfortable. My heart raced. 100 emotions crashed inside me: joy, pain, anger, longing. They walked toward me. One of them spoke. Mother, we heard your story inside. We didn't know you would be here. Didn't know. My heart screamed inside. You didn't know because you never looked. You didn't know because you never cared. But I kept silent. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I simply asked, did you recognize me now? Or only when the world clapped for my pain? They looked down, ashamed. Their wives shifted uncomfortably. One of them whispered, we are sorry, Mother. We were young, we didn't understand. We thought our wives were right. We thought you were old-fashioned. I wanted to hug them, to forgive them, to forget all the nights I cried alone. But the wounds were too deep. I stood straight and said, my love for you never ended. But your love for me died long ago. Go live your lives. Do not come to me only when society claps for my tears. I turned away. For the first time, I chose myself. I walked back toward the van of the old age home, leaving them standing in silence. That night, I cried again. But the tears were different. They were not of helplessness, but of release. I had carried the hope of reconciliation in my heart for too long. Now, that hope had ended. And strangely, I felt lighter. From that day on, I decided to live for myself. I taught the orphan children how to read, how to write, how to pray. I became their grandma. They began to call me so, and soon, the whole orphanage knew me by that name. I realized something, my child. Sometimes, family is not given by blood. Sometimes, family is chosen by love. After that charity function, my life at the old age home changed. People began to visit us more often, not just for charity, but to sit and listen to our stories. They said my words had touched their hearts. Some even promised they would take better care of their parents. You see, child, sometimes our pain becomes someone else's lesson. That thought gave me strength. But nights still tested me. The faces of my sons lingered in my dreams. Sometimes I dreamed they embraced me, and I woke up smiling, only to realize it was just a dream. Other nights, I dreamed they abandoned me again, and I woke up crying. One morning, a little girl from the orphanage next door came running to me. Her name was Aisha. She was only 7 years old, with eyes like shining stars. She hugged me tightly and said, Grandma, today is Parents' Day in our school. Everyone's parents are coming. Will you come for me? Because I don't have anyone. Her words broke me, yet healed me at the same time. Without thinking, I kissed her forehead and said, of course, my child. I will come. I will be your mother, your grandmother, whatever you wish. That day, I wore my best sari, tied my hair neatly, and went to her school. When her name was called, she proudly walked onto the stage, holding my hand. Teachers smiled, children clapped. Aisha looked at me and whispered, see, Grandma. I also have someone now. At that moment, I realized, I had found my true family. They were not born of my womb, but they were born of my heart. In the evenings, I began teaching the children. I taught them to read, to write, and to pray. I told them stories of courage, honesty, and love. They listened with wide eyes and innocent smiles. For them, I was not an abandoned old woman. I was a storyteller, a teacher, a protector. Slowly, the emptiness inside me began to fill. But life is never without pain, my child. One day, news reached me. My elder son had fallen sick. He was admitted to a hospital, fighting for his life. My heart trembled. Despite everything, despite the betrayal, he was still my child. Blood is blood, after all. I went to the hospital. When I entered his room, he looked at me with weak eyes. Tears rolled down his cheeks. He whispered, "Mother, forgive me. I was blind, I was selfish. Please don't leave me now." I held his hand, cold and trembling. In that moment, all my anger melted. A mother cannot carry hate to the grave. I kissed his forehead and said, "I forgave you long ago, my son." But forgiveness does not erase the past, it only softens the heart. He cried like a child in my arms. His wife stood silently, ashamed. I did not curse her, nor blame her. What was the use? Time had already taken everything. My son survived, but the distance between us remained. I returned to the old age home, knowing well that my place was no longer in his house, nor in his life. My place was among those who truly needed me, the children who had no parents, the old ones who had no children. Years passed. My hair turned completely white, my body grew weaker, and walking became slow. Yet my heart found peace in the orphanage. The children grew around me. Some became doctors, some teachers, some engineers. Many of them still came back to visit me, bringing gifts, touching my feet, calling me Grandma. One boy, who had once wiped my tears with his tiny hands, became a lawyer. When he visited, he told me, "Grandma, whatever I am today is because of you. You taught me how to believe in myself. Do you see, child? I was abandoned by my blood, but God gave me hundreds of new children who carried my love forward." But time, as always, does not stop. My health worsened. The doctor said my heart was weak. I knew my journey was near its end. One night, I gathered the children around me. They sat on the floor, just like in the old days. I looked at their faces, shining with hope, and said, "My dears, listen carefully. Life is not measured by how much you receive, but by how much you give. Parents give everything without expecting in return. If you ever have parents, hold them close. If you lose them, remember their love in your actions. And if you meet someone abandoned, like me, do not look away. Give them love. Even a small act of kindness can save a soul from breaking." The children cried, holding my hands, begging me not to speak of death. I smiled through my tears. "Do not cry, my children. I am not leaving you. A mother never leaves. She lives in your heart, in your words, in your kindness." That night, I closed my eyes peacefully. I was not afraid anymore. I had suffered, yes. I had been betrayed, yes. But I had also loved, taught, and given new life to many. When I took my last breath, I was surrounded not by loneliness, but by love. Not by silence, but by prayers. Not by betrayal, but by gratitude. And that, my child, is the story of my life. A story of pain, but also of purpose. A story of betrayal, but also of rebirth. So remember my words. Do not forget your parents. Do not let them sit in the dark while you shine in the light they gave you. Because one day, you too will grow old. And the love you give will be the love you receive.